Morning, glory, America. Bonjour, hi, Canada. Greetings to all of my 400 affiliates all across the country, North America, and indeed across the world now. I would like to begin, as I have every day for the last month, and I'm going to continue to do right up through January 5, and speak directly to my 13 affiliates in the Peach State of Georgia. Now, Georgians, you can vote today. And I want you to go and vote today. You go to Google, you say, where can I vote? I live in Georgia. And they'll ask you for your zip code, or you give them your zip code, and they will tell you where you can go and vote in person today. Because so much hangs on reelecting David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler in the special election on January 5. If you live in a cave and you do not know, January 5 in Georgia is the day that we decide whether Mitch McConnell will lead the Senate for the next 2 years or Chuck Schumer. And, of course, so much hangs on that because Joe Biden will have no checks on him. He's got Nancy Pelosi as Speaker, and if Chuck Schumer is the majority leader, terrible things will happen to the United States. And I say that in all sincerity. It'll be like the Obamacare years, the years 2009 and 2010, when President Obama had absolute unchecked authority. Congress of the United States did whatever he wanted. They can do one thing every year on the budget process. They could raise taxes sky high. They can raise Social Security taxes. They can raise workplace taxes. They can raise real estate taxes. They can just raise taxes with no check. They can nominate, I expect Justice Breyer to retire next year, maybe Justice Sotomayor as well. They could nominate Erwin Chemerinsky or someone like Erwin, someone way to the left. Very friendly, very nice, but just way to the left of the American mainstream. And if Chuck Schumer is in charge of the Senate, that judge will be confirmed. Or they can go find crazy judges for the courts of appeals. Lots of Democrats have waited to retire for Joe Biden to show up. And if Chuck Schumer leads that chamber, they'll come through. They'll cut military spending. I mean, if you're in a uniform or you're in a military and family, you got to go register. I think they have same-day registration in Georgia. Call and find out and vote. You've just got to call everybody you know in Georgia and vote. We can't afford in this era of superpower competition with China to cut the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, and the Space Force. And that is exactly what Chuck Schumer's Senate would do in cooperation with Joe Biden in the House, slash defense spending. They will increase giveaways to people. They will increase subsidies to their favorite Green New Deal recipients. They will go back into the Paris Accords, which Joe Biden has said they will do, but the law to support it won't be there. They'll go back into the Iran deal, even though there's no law to support that. They'll take sanctions off of Iran. They'll endanger Israel. That all happens if Georgia does not vote for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. Now, Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue have run great campaigns. I think David Perdue is on the show today. If I am... he had a conflict came up. He can't do it. I thought maybe that'll change back. But they're all running around Georgia and campaigning. I would just tell you, the numbers look okay, not great. They had a weird poll come out yesterday that said Raphael Warnock was ahead. And I don't believe that. He's the most radical major party candidate of my lifetime. Raphael Warnock is the most radical person I've ever heard run for office. Let me remind you, though, Georgia, what Chuck Schumer said about your state. He is simply going to annex your state to Manhattan. If that happens, cut number one.
Now we take Georgia, and then we change the world. Yeah! I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Mr. Schumer? Now we take Georgia, and then we change America.
You like that, Georgia? He's going to take you and change you. So let's go through the Democrats. Number one. John Ossoff is so radical, he wants to exile from the public square and shutter the doors and close down the speech of anyone who supported Donald Trump. Cut number two.
We need to send a message this year. We need to send a message that if you indulge this kind of politics, you're not just going to get beaten. You're going to get beaten so bad you can never run or show your face again in public. Because we have had enough, absolutely enough, of what we are getting from Donald Trump and his fellow travelers right now.
All right, get that? You are a fellow traveler. That is a term reserved for McCarthyite era. And he's going to shame you into not showing up anymore if you voted for President Trump. If you ever said anything nice about President Trump, if you haven't been a vocal critic against President Trump. John Ossoff wants to shut you down. John Ossoff has never had a job. John Ossoff is a trust fund lefty. But Raphael Warnock, he is a radical. Cut number 3, Pastor Warnock.
And if it is true that a man who has dominated the news and poisoned the discussion for months needs to repent, then it is doubly true that a nation that can produce such a man and make his vitriol go viral needs to repent. No matter what happens next month, more than a third of the nation that would go along with this is reason to be afraid. America needs to repent for its worship of whiteness on full display this season. How is it that you can insult everybody? Call Muslims something other than children of God? Call Mexicans murderers and rapists? Insult the disabled? How is it you can insult everybody, but then one weekend somebody discovers in the recording that you insult those whose daughters and wives look like those who have been supporting you, and then all of a sudden we can't take it anymore. We gotta repent for the worship of whiteness.
You know, I don't think America worships whiteness. I believe we are a colorblind society. I know there are racists among us. I don't think they represent more than 1%, really 0.5% of America. Not even that, maybe more of 1/10% of America, the white supremacist crazy movement. Hillary Clinton and I had that conversation last year. And I just think it's nuts that Georgia's even getting close to electing a man who cannot bring himself to tell you the truth about Fidel Castro. My favorite Raphael Warnock quote, cut number 9.
We pray for the people of Cuba in this moment. We remember Fidel Castro, whose legacy is complex. Don't let anybody tell you a simple story. Life usually isn't very simple. His legacy is complex. Kind of like America's legacy is complex.
Fidel Castro's legacy is not complex. Fidel Castro is a communist killer who throughout his life murdered, imprisoned, tortured people, who turned that entire island into a prison camp, and whose continuing grip on the island through his brother Raul is a thing of shame. And that Raphael Warnock does not know that is either a demonstration that he has not studied Cuba, or in fact a reflection of his hard left ideology. But the worst thing he said, and you've heard this many times, cut number 4.
America, nobody can serve God and the military.
That is stunning. One more time, cut number 4.
America, nobody can serve God and the military.
Well, I will play a little bit later Kelly Loeffler on Fox with Harris Faulkner yesterday. But I want you to finish up by just promising me, promising yourself, promising your state, you will do exactly what Donald Trump asked everyone in Georgia to do, and what I ask you to do, and what every mainstream Republican asks you to do. Cut number 8.
We're gathered here tonight to ensure, a very important word, ensure, because these are two great, great people that I know so well and respected by everybody in Washington and beyond, that David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler win the most important congressional runoff probably in American history. I really believe that. I think it's in American. There's never been a time like this where you have two at one time. At least you have two beauties. And you know what? You also have two beauties running against them, but beauty in a different way.
Yeah, look, David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler are mainstream center-right conservatives, responsible, diligent, excellent senators for Georgia. But they don't win unless you turn out. So if you know anyone in Georgia, you're not a Georgian yourself, call them up, email them, tell them that the best present they can give the country for Christmas is a vote for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. Tell them to get up and go today. Go right now. Get there. Cast their vote for Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue, and then we can all celebrate on January 5th and come right back on the Hugh Hewitt Show. Welcome back, America. It's Hugh Hewitt. Talking about the Georgia special election. PBS put out a story last night. More than 1.6 million voters have cast ballots in the first week of early voting in Georgia. That's a turnout rate that's unusually high for runoff contests, on par with the participation rate seen in November's general election. Remember that David Perdue won in November, and remember that Kelly Loeffler and all the other Republicans beat the radical Warnock and all the other Democrats and the Greens and the Independents combined in the November general election. So I think if everyone just votes, it'll be fine. The country will be fine. The country will relax if both the election of Perdue and Loeffler occur. And the good news is that of the early vote, it's older. 68.4% of the voters who have cast ballots are age 50 or older. That's a demographic that tends to skew more conservative and favor Republican. In the November election, only 52% of voters in Georgia were 50 and older. So it looks good, but don't relax. Do not relax. I think Raphael Warnock is so radical, absolutely so crazy left-wing. And I'm sure he's a nice guy, but when you're on abortion on demand until the 9th month, when you can't say a bad word about Fidel Castro, when you say serving God in the military is not possible, Georgians here, and John Ossoff's been an empty suit forever. I mean, it would be like, just imagine a high school student who's a pretty bright high school student. They win the speech competition, they get the local awards for Student of the Month, all that kind of stuff, running for Senate. Yeah, they got a bright future ahead of them. Do something. Get a job, John. His dad created a job for him. His dad created a film firm for him. It's absurd. Let me check markets. Brought to you by Birch Gold. And you can still buy gold, and boy, you should be buying gold right now. Or you should be turning part of your IRA into a gold-backed IRA. I believe when the latest round of aid runs through, that's another $1 trillion in the economy. President Trump last night wants even more. I don't know if the Congress is going to give even more. President Trump wants even more money injected into the economy. He wants the individual checks to be $2,000 instead of $600 each. But whether it's $600 or $2,000, it's a lot of money, along with all the better business, the small business aid. And gold this morning is at $1,871 an ounce. Great entry point. How do you buy gold? You go to hughgold.com, or you text my name, Hugh, to 474747. hughgold.com, or text my name, Hugh, to 474747. Birch Gold, they know gold thrives in uncertainty, and we're very uncertain until January 5. But more importantly, when inflation hits, gold skyrockets. That's what you have to worry about. Now, in the market yesterday, we have the Dow was down 200 points, the S&P was down 7.8 points, and the NASDAQ was off 65. It was up 65, excuse me. Overseas right now, there is a much better look. They think Brexit is going to become a deal, going to become a thing. And so Japan went up, and Hong Kong went up, and Germany is up, and Britain's trading it down 0.09%. Just a little bit down. They think Brexit's going to happen. They're stuck on fishing. They're stuck on fishing, and I've got to go over there. I think I got to get there and just immediately go and negotiate with Boris and Macron. That's what it's, the French fishermen versus the British fishermen. But they are going to have a deal, and markets are going to skyrocket. And then the money's going to start to circulate as the vaccines get out there, and inflation's going to come. So Birch Gold is where you need to go. hughgold.com, or text my name, Hugh. They'll help you with a rollover of some of your IRA into a gold-backed IRA, real, actual, physical, precious metals. Text Hugh to 474747. Come right back on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Portions of the Hugh Hewitt Show are brought to you in part by Prison Fellowship. Click on the Angel Tree banner at the top of hughhewitt.com.
Welcome back, America. It's Hugh Hewitt. President-elect Biden gave a press conference yesterday, and I must tell you, this is going to be the gift that keeps on giving. What's bad for the country is great for radio, because Joe Biden is just really always, he's just a gift in the audio department. Peter Doocy asked him a question about Hunter Biden and special counsels and all that, and Joe Biden channels his inner Dwayne, cut number 10.
It's going to take not day one, it's going to take probably the next 6 months to put that in place.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you.
Mr. President, do you still think that the stories from the fall about your son Hunter were Russian disinformation at his smear campaign, like you said?
Yes. God love you, man. You're a one-horse pony. I tell you. Thank you. I promise you, my Justice Department will be totally on its own, making its judgments about how they should proceed. Thank you.
That was Peter Doocy saying, do you think that the story about Hunter Biden is Russian disinformation? And the president-elect said, yes. That doesn't make any sense. But more importantly, he said, you're a one-horse pony. Now, that's what Dwayne says I am, a one-horse pony. Because I've been married to the fetching Mrs. Hewitt for... I should be a one-pony horse, actually. I've been married for 39 years. I don't know what a one-horse pony is, but Dwayne is always muttering it. And so a one-horse pony. I just love Joe Biden. Now, he also told everyone the border policies are going to stay the same for a while. Because Donald Trump, he doesn't say this part, Donald Trump has pretty good border policies. And Joe Biden's domestic team said yesterday, we're not going to really be changing those in a hurry. Cut number 11.
We've already started discussing these issues with the President of Mexico and our friends in Latin America. And the timeline is to do it so that we, in fact, make it better, not worse. The last thing we need is to say we're going to stop immediately the access to asylum the way it's being run now and end up with 2 million people on our border. It's a matter of setting up the guardrails so we can move in the direction. I will accomplish what I said I would do, a much more humane policy based on family unification, but it requires getting a lot in place and requires getting the funding to get it in place, including just asylum judges, for example. So it's a matter of it will get done, and it will get done quickly, but it's not going to be able to be done on day one, lift every restriction that exists and find out that and go back to what it was 20 years ago and all of a sudden find out we have a crisis on our hand that complicates what we're trying to do.
No, actually, that's kind of common sense because President Trump put into place the policy of not giving asylum to everyone who came to the port of entry because a lot of them vanished into the country. So they have to wait for their asylum hearing on the other side of the border in Mexico, and that slowed down immigration decidedly. And Joe Biden is doing a smart thing here. The president-elect says, we got a pretty good system here. We're not going to change anything. I'm just going to make sure families are unified. And I agree with him on that, by the way. I believe that the Trump administration reversed. Probably the biggest disaster of the administration was family separation. They reversed it. The president reversed it after he saw the consequence of it. I argued with Jeff Sessions on air about it. No one liked that. It was tried under President Obama, and nobody liked it then. That's when they built the cages, and President Trump tried it, I guess, under the advice of Stephen Miller, and America rebelled because people don't like, it's not humanitarian. They don't like to see parents separated from children. I know some of you say those are fake parents, but even if they are, you keep them together until you can prove DNA-wise that they're not parents. And that had to be changed, and Biden ran on that. He ran hard on that. That might have been the Arizona vote right there. Remember, President Trump lost the election even under the count that he disputes by less than 44,000 votes in 3 states, Wisconsin, Georgia, and Arizona. Closer than Hillary Clinton. 44,000 votes in Wisconsin, Arizona, and Georgia. I personally believe it was the polling. And I have told senior officials that. If the Washington Post and ABC don't say 5 days before the election that Donald Trump is down 17 points in Wisconsin, he wins those 3 states. Because everybody knows everything about an election now. Everybody knows in Georgia that David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler appear to be winning. I think Democrats are giving up They've already bought the time. They're trying as hard as they can, but I think they've given up. I really do. I think they've given up. Kelly Loeffler went on Fox with Harris Faulkner yesterday to just drive home, put the final touches on a big win down there, talking about the radical liberal Warnock. I'd call him a leftist, but she calls him a radical liberal, cut number 20.
Well, Harris, I'm on week 3 of our Georgia Firewall tour. We are the firewall to stopping socialism in America right here in Georgia. We know that we have to hold the line. The American dream is on the ballot. And we know that because Chuck Schumer said he was going to take Georgia and change America. That's not what we want in Georgia or across the country. We're fighting for that every single day. And my opponent, radical liberal Raphael Warnock, is someone who has denounced our police officers. He's denounced our military. He said you can't serve God and serve in the military. Yet he refused to denounce socialism and Marxism. If we don't hold the line here in Georgia, we will see the election of our first Marxist senator in the U.S. Senate, and we can't let that happen.
You know, I'm curious about what you're seeing on the ground. You know, what are the crowds like? What are people saying at this point?
Well, Harris, the crowds have been tremendous. The enthusiasm is incredibly strong on the ground. I was out Sunday with Ambassador Nikki Haley, and then yesterday, Ivanka Trump was here with David Perdue and I, and the crowds are tremendous. It's a really stark contrast to when other surrogates, Democrat surrogates, come to our state. They're not getting the crowds and the enthusiasm. And our message is to get out and vote. You have to do it. President Trump was here 2 weeks ago, and he said, Georgia, you have to vote for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. And he knows that if we vote, we will win. But if we don't vote, we will lose the country. That's what's at stake here. That's why we have so many great surrogates coming in, helping us get the vote out, and Georgians are responding. That's why you see the great early voting numbers. But we need to continue that through the holidays.
Well, you know, the Wall Street Journal has written an op-ed as well saying that, you know, all of it comes down. Let's take a look at that, actually. It's an op-ed that points out this runoff as being bigger than just your state. A Democratic loss in Georgia would confirm what the November election suggested. Mr. Biden has no coattails. Mr. Trump is a different story. He has put his magic on the line in Georgia, and if the Republicans lose despite his campaigning there, he will be blamed. What's your response to that?
Well, Harris, Georgia is a red state, and we're fighting for the president because he's fought for us for 4 years, and he's continuing to fight for us. We are going to hold the line here in Georgia. I know that. I see so many great patriots every single day at our rallies, at our events, and we're working hard for Georgians. Look, we have been helping deliver relief under this pandemic, relief that the Democrats have blocked time and again, and David Perdue and I have done that every single day. We helped bring $47 billion here to Georgia, while my opponent, radical liberal Raphael Warnock, his organization, his voting organization, took $500,000 in PPP and is now under investigation for voter fraud and for tax evasion. So this is the stark contrast in this race, and what Georgians know is that they need to get out and vote. They're doing that. The president's going to come back. Vice President Pence was here, and this is an all hands on deck across America.
A couple of things. I'm sure you saw that New York Times op-ed and a lengthy article about you as well. It said that this about your campaign, quote, above all, she is a fervent supporter and rubber stamp for President Trump, a message she has repeated across Georgia. Her life, though, has been rather more nuanced than her life story. In many ways, Ms. Loeffler appears to be a traditional business-oriented Republican whose hard right turn is a stark reflection of the ideological gymnastics many politicians in her party have performed in the populist culture-warring Trump era. What's your response?
Well, Harris, my response is I've been blessed to live the American dream. I was born and raised on a farm, grew up working in the fields, waitressed my way through school, and built a successful career based on free enterprise. That's what I'm fighting for. Look, Democrats want to bring socialism to our country. That's what they're fighting for. Raphael Warnock would be a rubber stamp for socialism, and we're not going to let that stand. I'm fighting every day for every single Georgian. This isn't a matter of politics. This is the American dream is on the ballot here, January 5th. And, you know, the left-wing media wants to take us towards socialism, and we're not going to stand for that here in Georgia.
I have two final questions for you. One is a tough one, and I know you battled it out with Warnock at the debate, and you both were throwing barbs at one another on different things. Critics have said you made a series of stock trades on the very same day that you took a Senate hearing on COVID-19 back in January. Is that true?
At all, Harris. Look, that's a left-wing political attack by the media and the Democrats, and that's a big distraction from the facts about their radical agenda and their radical opponents. My opponent is someone that will defund the police. He'll be the first person in line because he's called police gangsters, thugs, bullies, and a threat to our children. That's what they're trying to distract from with these political attacks. And look, I think it's very important that Georgians understand that I've been fighting every day for the American dream, and my opponent would fight every day for Chuck Schumer's radical agenda to raise taxes, implement the Green New Deal, open our borders, weaken our Second Amendment rights, and additional radical ideas that are just not right for our country.
That was Kelly Loeffler yesterday on Fox News, and I think it's a terrific appearance. And I think the Georgia voters need to know they got to get out and vote. I would like to ask you right now to please consider going to HughHewitt.com and donating to the Prison Fellowship Ministry Angel Tree. Tens of thousands of people have done so, making up for the church patios that are closed across America. Now, Angel Tree is a church patio ministry. I've been talking about it all month long because the churches aren't open. And when the churches aren't open, Angel Tree does not get the donations they normally get. They cannot deliver the Bibles and the gifts from mom or dad who's behind bars to the children that receive them eagerly every year. They can't do that. And so people on the radio, on this show, on Mike Gallagher's show, and Dennis Prager, and Sebastian Gorka, and Charlie Kirk's show, Larry Elder's show, they've all stepped up in a big way. And I want to thank you, all of you who've given, and suggest that if you've got a little bit of time, just a little bit more money, we're going to make every goal that we could possibly have hoped to. It will not close the entire gap, but we will serve so many children. If you will simply go to HughHewitt.com, go to the top, the banner is there, the Christmas tree banner at the very top, and give your best gift. While you're also thinking about giving presents, give a subscription to HonorBoundCoffee.com. HonorBoundCoffee.com is a coffee subscription service, the best coffee in the United States. And when you get your coffee from HonorBound Coffee, 100% of the profits, 100% of the profits go to support men and women in uniform. Men and women in the United States Army, Air Force, Marine Corps, and Navy. That's what HonorBound Coffee does. It supports military families. And I really hope you'll consider subscribing to it for Christmas. I also know you need to take your ReliefFactor.com. It's that time of the day. Here's the package. I'm opening it up because I got to be ready for the weekend because the Browns are in the playoff hunt. That's why my voice is kind of shot. I was screaming on Sunday night. And I must tell you, been the hardest season on my voice in the NFL because the Browns haven't been in the playoffs since 2003, and we're actually in the division hunt. If we win out and the Steelers lose out, the Browns are the division champs. So, ReliefFactor.com doesn't help your voice, but it does help me get out and walk, run. Did 4 miles yesterday, trundling along, and I urge all of you to do the same. Whether you've got a new Peloton, whether you're an outdoor person, whether you got a gym in your garage, or whether you're just doing push-ups and aerobics. Do it with ReliefFactor.com and get rid of those minor aches and pains. $19.95 gets you started. Israel is going to elections, America. Yep, 4th time in 3 years, and Michael Oren joins us next to discuss on the Hugh Hewitt Show. Welcome back, America. Hugh Hewitt, joined now from Israel by Dr. Michael Oren, once and future member of the Knesset, I hope. Israel is going to have another round of elections. It's going to be March 23rd. They're filling the gap. No Brexit, no UK election, no U.S. elections, but Israel keeps coming back. It's round 4. Dr. Oren, welcome. Are you going to run?
Possibly. We have to see what lists are running, what place you get on a list. It's very important the place you get on a list. It's by order, and if you're high up on the list gets elected, then you become a minister and not merely a backbencher. And I have great respect for legislators. Hugh, pension reform, postal reform is not my thing. It's international relations. And to get into a position where you can impact diplomacy, you got to be very, very high up on a list that succeeds.
There are 2 lists I could see you on. One is Likud and one is Gideon Saar's new party. Are you considering talking with Gideon Saar? I don't see you in Naftali Bennett's, right? You're not a Bennett guy.
No, I have a very good relationship both with Naftali Bennett and Gideon Saar. They're both very capable, very smart individuals, experienced in Israeli politics. But they're up against the champ. Let's be frank about it. It's always premature to eulogize Mr. Netanyahu. And the more people running around against him, the stronger he seems to get, because it seems like he never just run one person again. They got about 2 people, 4 people in the last election, and he's going to go into this election very strong, and I'll tell you why. I know for a fact that these parties that were going up against him were going to run on the basis of his sort of less than successful handling of the corona crisis. But Israel today is one of the few countries in the world, certainly one of the few developing countries in the world, where people are all getting vaccinated. I am on my way to get vaccinated right now.
Oh, which one are you going to take, Michael?
I think we're getting the Pfizer here.
Okay.
And but that's amazing. And that is all really due to Netanyahu. I got a very good friend, a writer, who hates Bibi Netanyahu. He hates him with all his might. He called me up the other day and said, I despise saying this, but this is all because of Bibi. Bibi got on the phone every night and called the CEOs of Pfizer and Moderna, and you've got to get those things here. You've got to get the vaccine. And they came. It was an incredible logistic accomplishment. And the vaccinations are going off very orderly here, by time, by appointment. This is Bibi. And so if anybody thinks he's going to run on his failure to grapple with corona, it's going to be a weak platform for him.
So that sounds like you're open to being in Likud or Saar, or Bennett for that matter. When do you have to decide? When do the lists come out?
In another 30 days.
So there's 30 days to talk to everyone and figure out how high you'll be up on a list and study who has what. But it looks like it's going to be a right-wing government. I mean, there are, 80 seats out of 120 that are projected to go to Likud or parties to its right?
Yeah, because from the 100 out of the 120, you have to deduct the ultra-Orthodox, which is usually about 16. You have to deduct the Arabs, which are between 11 and 15. And then you're left with a few scattered left-wing positions. But the left essentially died in this country. It died going back to the Second Intifada in the early parts of the century, where Israelis just don't believe there's a partner out there to talk with the Palestinians, and they don't want a two-state solution that's going to create a terrorist state on our border. It's going to fall apart. So, yes, the battle is over the right, and people like Gideon Saar and Naftali Bennett will try to outright Netanyahu and say he wasn't sufficiently right. But again, they're thinking corona, not right-wing politics. And if everyone gets vaccinated by March 23rd, and I'm sure Netanyahu had this in mind when he went to elections, then a lot of the wind is going to be taken out of that sail.
So, Michael Oren, tell me something about what you represent to these parties. You sat out 3 rounds. You've been off writing books. The Night Archer, by the way, is a terrific collection of short stories that people can still order for the holidays. But you sat out 3 rounds. If you went back in, I've always thought, Israelis don't really care about foreign policy in their election, but Oren would certainly strengthen any party's foreign policy credentials. Will it matter more as the Iranian threat looms?
Yes, it's also saying that Netanyahu, for all the tremendous accomplishments of the last years, 4 peace agreements with 4 Arab countries in 4 months, a president who recognizes Jerusalem as our capital, who recognizes Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights, who pulls out of the Iran deal, the question is going to be asked, why didn't we take advantage of those 4 Trump years to deal with Hamas, to deal with Hezbollah? Now, dealing with them has required tremendous amount of support from the United States, 100% support from the United States. Is the next administration going to give us that type of a support? I give us support, but not to the degree that the previous administration did. So that's going to be an issue. To me, that's a vulnerability in Netanyahu's platform.
And now, Michael, very quickly, we got a minute. How do you get along with the President-elect Biden and with Jake Sullivan, his national security advisor, and his new Secretary of State, Tony Blinken?
We've talked about this before, and I'll tell you again, I know them quite well. They're all good people, smart people. I know them politically, and I know them personally. And, I was delighted about the appointments. But what's the but? We're going to have policy differences. Yeah, there'll be policy differences about the peace process. That is less important, because I really don't think the Palestinians offer us a real partnership there. But the Iran issue, and there's tremendous amount of talk about the pressure on this new administration to get back into the joint plan of cooperation, which is a disastrous agreement for Israel, the Middle East, and the world.
So, off air, please tell Dwayne what your prediction is to which party list you'll join. And Michael Oren, I hope they put you at number 2. Because I want you back in the government so I can talk to someone in the government every week. Michael Oren, former ambassador of Israel to the United States, former deputy minister in the Netanyahu government 4 governments ago. Always a pleasure. Author of The Night Archer. Make sure you get The Night Archer if you want to give a gift that keeps on giving. And I'll be back for hour 2 of the Hugh Hewitt Show. Glory, America, bonjour, hi, Canada. Greetings to all of my 400 affiliates all across the country, North America, and indeed across the world now. I would like to begin, as I have every day for the last month, and I'm going to continue to do right up through January 5, and speak directly to my 13 affiliates in the Peach State of Georgia. Now, Georgians, you can vote today. And I want you to go and vote today. You go to Google, you say, where can I vote? I live in Georgia. And they'll ask you for your zip code, or you give them your zip code, and they will tell you where you can go and vote in person today. Because so much hangs on reelecting David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler in the special election on January 5. If you live in a cave and you do not know, January 5 in Georgia is the day that we decide whether Mitch McConnell will lead the Senate for the next 2 years or Chuck Schumer. And, of course, so much hangs on that because Joe Biden will have no checks on him. He's got Nancy Pelosi as Speaker, and if Chuck Schumer is the majority leader, terrible things will happen to the United States. And I say that in all sincerity. It'll be like the Obamacare years, the years 2009 and 2010, when President Obama had absolute unchecked authority. Congress of the United States did whatever he wanted. They can do one thing every year on the budget process. They could raise taxes sky high. They can raise Social Security taxes. They can raise workplace taxes. They can raise real estate taxes. They can just raise taxes with no check. They can nominate, I expect Justice Breyer to retire next year, maybe Justice Sotomayor as well. They could nominate Erwin Chemerinsky or someone like Erwin, someone way to the left. Very friendly, very nice, but just way to the left of the American mainstream. And if Chuck Schumer is in charge of the Senate, that judge will be confirmed. Or they can go find crazy judges for the courts of appeals. Lots of Democrats have waited to retire for Joe Biden to show up. And if Chuck Schumer leads that chamber, they'll come through. They'll cut military spending. I mean, if you're in a uniform or you're in a military and family, you got to go register. I think they have same-day registration in Georgia. Call and find out and vote. You've just got to call everybody you know in Georgia and vote. We can't afford in this era of superpower competition with China to cut the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, and the Space Force. And that is exactly what Chuck Schumer's Senate would do in cooperation with Joe Biden in the House, slash defense spending. They will increase giveaways to people. They will increase subsidies to their favorite Green New Deal recipients. They will go back into the Paris Accords, which Joe Biden has said they will do, but the law to support it won't be there. They'll go back into the Iran deal, even though there's no law to support that. They'll take sanctions off of Iran. They'll endanger Israel. That all happens if Georgia does not vote for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. Now, Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue have run great campaigns. I think David Perdue is on the show today. If I am... he had a conflict came up. He can't do it. I thought maybe that'll change back. But they're all running around Georgia and campaigning. I would just tell you, the numbers look okay, not great. They had a weird poll come out yesterday that said Raphael Warnock was ahead. And I don't believe that. He's the most radical major party candidate of my lifetime. Raphael Warnock is the most radical person I've ever heard run for office. Let me remind you, though, Georgia, what Chuck Schumer said about your state. He is simply going to annex your state to Manhattan. If that happens, cut number one.
Now we take Georgia, and then we change the world. Yeah! I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Mr. Schumer? Now we take Georgia, and then we change America.
You like that, Georgia? He's going to take you and change you. So let's go through the Democrats. Number one, John Ossoff is so radical, he wants to exile from the public square and shutter the doors and close down the speech of anyone who supported Donald Trump. Cut number two.
We need to send a message this year. We need to send a message that if you indulge this kind of politics, you're not just going to get beaten. You're going to get beaten so bad you can never run or show your face again in public. Because we have had enough, absolutely enough, of what we are getting from Donald Trump and his fellow travelers right now.
All right, get that? You are a fellow traveler. That is a term reserved for McCarthyite era. And he's going to shame you into not showing up anymore if you voted for President Trump. If you ever said anything nice about President Trump, if you haven't been a vocal critic against President Trump. John Ossoff wants to shut you down. John Ossoff has never had a job. John Ossoff is a trust fund lefty. But Raphael Warnock, he is a radical. Cut number 3, Pastor Warnock.
And if it is true that a man who has dominated the news and poisoned the discussion for months needs to repent, then it is doubly true that a nation that can produce such a man and make his vitriol go viral needs to repent. No matter what happens next month, more than a third of the nation that would go along with this is reason to be afraid. America needs to repent for its worship of whiteness on full display this season. How is it that you can insult everybody, call Muslims something other than children of God, call Mexicans murderers and rapists, insult the disabled? How is it you can insult everybody, but then one weekend somebody discovers in the recording that you insult those whose daughters and wives look like those who have been supporting you, and then all of a sudden we can't take it anymore. Repent for the worship of whiteness.
You know, I don't think America worships whiteness. I believe we are a colorblind society. I know there are racists among us. I don't think they represent more than 1%, really 0.5% of America. Not even that, maybe more of 1/10% of America, the white supremacist crazy movement. Hillary Clinton and I had that conversation last year. And I just think it's nuts that Georgia's even getting close to electing a man who cannot bring himself to tell you the truth about Fidel Castro. My favorite Raphael Warnock quote, cut number 9.
We pray for the people of Cuba in this moment. We remember Fidel Castro, whose legacy is complex. Don't let anybody tell you a simple story. Life usually isn't very simple. His legacy is complex. Kind of like America's legacy is complex.
Fidel Castro's legacy is not complex. Fidel Castro is a communist killer who throughout his life murdered, imprisoned, tortured people, who turned that entire island into a prison camp, and whose continuing grip on the island through his brother Raul is a thing of shame. And that Raphael Warnock does not know that is either a demonstration that he has not studied Cuba, or in fact a reflection of his hard left ideology. But the worst thing he said, and you've heard this many times, cut number 4.
America, nobody can serve God and the military.
That is stunning. One more time, cut number 4.
America, nobody can serve God and the military.
Well, I will play a little bit later Kelly Loeffler on Fox with Harris Faulkner yesterday. But I want you to finish up by just promising me, promising yourself, promising your state, you will do exactly what Donald Trump asked everyone in Georgia to do, and what I ask you to do, and what every mainstream Republican asks you to do. Cut number 8.
We're gathered here tonight to ensure, a very important word, ensure, because these are two great, great people that I know so well and respected by everybody in Washington and beyond, that David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler win the most important congressional runoff probably in American history. I really believe that. I think it's an American. There's never been a time like this where you have two at one time. At least you have two beauties. And you know what? You also have two beauties running against them, but beauty in a different way.
Yeah, look, David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler are mainstream center-right conservatives, responsible, diligent, excellent senators for Georgia. But they don't win unless you turn out. So if you know anyone in Georgia, you're not a Georgian yourself, call them up, email them, tell them that the best present they can give the country for Christmas is a vote for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. Tell them to get up and go today. Go right now. Get there. Cast their vote for Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue, and then we can all celebrate on January 5th and come right back on the Hugh Hewitt Show. Welcome back, America. It's Hugh Hewitt. So glad to be talking to you on this, the 23rd of December, 2020. A year that can't end too soon for some, but we got to celebrate Christmas. If you're doing some last-minute shopping and you have a 21 to 30-year-old in your list, give them the gift of the wild adventure. TWA.US. I've gone on this thing 3 times. Great fishing trip in Madison with 12 guys. They can go by themselves. They can go with a friend. You can give brothers the opportunity to go. Father and son cannot go together because they are for 21 to 30-year-old. They filled up the entire wild adventure for all the people over 30. But the young guns get together and they have the same great fishing, the same great fellowship, the same great food. Bruce Osgood has led the young guns before. And here's what Bruce says about that trip.
Hi, Hugh. Merry Christmas. We really appreciate all your support for the Wild Adventure. I'd like to take a minute to share another part of the Wild Adventure that's designed especially for guys ages 21 and up into their mid-30s. It's called Young Guns, and it takes place on a 650-acre ranch in southwest Montana that has 3 trophy trout lakes right on the property. Just like at the Wild Adventure Smiling Moose, we provide some content for the guys to read, and the discussions are driven by asking questions and then letting the guys talk. You know, when we ask guys what they want to get out of the week or what it is they're looking for, their number one answer is purpose and direction. This is true for guys who have grown up in the church and guys who have not yet come to faith. My experience and what the research says about this generation is that it's one of the smartest generations in history, and that the one thing that they are seeking most is real meaning. I hear a lot of people complaining about these next 2 generations. Well, here's a chance to get involved, to do something positive. We get a variety of guys, from those who have heard the answers before they've been allowed to ask the questions, to those who have been church hurt, to those who have little or no foundation. And you know, we can sit on the sidelines and complain, or we can reach guys for Christ in this amazing setting and in a real authentic way. This is a great age group. They're passionate, inquisitive, interested, and they're looking for answers. And they're going to find answers. Young Guns gives them an opportunity to find the truth. So if you know someone in this age range, a son, a grandson, a nephew, or a neighbor, consider sending them to Montana for a life-changing week. Check out the website for more information. Thanks.
Bruce is a great guy, and the Wild Adventure is just a terrific place to go. You got to visit the website, TWA.US. And I'm sorry if you're older, you can't go. Sorry, it's all filled up for 2021, but there are those few openings left. Give the gift of just a wonder, the best week they're going to have since they've been in high school and went to camp, or since they've been in grade school and went to camp. They're just going to love it, even if they fish as badly as Dwayne does. All right, let me check the markets for you, because this is brought to you by AndrewandTodd.com. AndrewandTodd.com are with Sierra Pacific Mortgage. They do the best with the most, and they help the people with the least as well. If you got a bad credit score, Andrew Del Rey and Todd Avakian will help you repair it so you can get a better rate. If you've got a great credit score, they'll get you the best rate in America. And right now, if you're buying a house or refinancing a house because you got to get money out for college, or you got to get money out to build an addition, or you want to buy a rental property or a second home, you go to AndrewandTodd.com. They were Sierra Pacific Mortgage. And you can call them, 888-888-1172. A number I tell you every day, 888-888-1172. But AndrewandTodd.com, that's where you go. And I've been getting some emails from them about their very, very satisfied customers. How can you not be satisfied? They got great customer service. They're a soup to nuts organization. They actually lend you the money. They're not a broker. They're not a call center. They do your application soup to nuts. They're closing loans. And with these interest rates, how can you not be happy? The Dow yesterday was down 209 points. The NASDAQ was up 65, and the S&P was down 7. Everything looks to be green today. A little bit early to be saying the president's discussion of the stimulus bill. He wished the checks had been bigger. He didn't threaten to veto it. I don't think he'll veto it. That would hurt the Georgia Senate candidate terribly if he did veto it. But I think that's going to buoy markets, because if anything, even more money is going to be spent on stimulus. So good day to be in the markets. Great day to call Sierra Pacific 888-888-1172. And please do go to the Wild Adventure website. If you know anyone from 21 to the mid-30s, go to twa.us and give them the gift of Montana. twa.us, and come right back on the Hugh Hewitt Show. Boy, do we need a little Christmas. Welcome back. It's Hugh Hewitt. I really think that that's my favorite Christmas movie, A Muppet Family Christmas, with John Denver. It's an oldie, but it's a goodie. We need a little Christmas. A little bit of Christmas came today, just 7 minutes ago. The United States has struck a deal to buy 100 million additional doses of Pfizer's vaccine. But that is not going to be enough if they don't get it out. Right now in Ohio, they've got 400,000 doses, and only 8,000 people have gotten them. Now, I am of the opinion that they ought to concentrate all those doses in northeastern Ohio for seniors so they can go to the playoff game when the Browns beat the Steelers in 2 weeks. Now, the Browns will beat the Jets next week, and then the Browns will beat the Steelers the week thereafter, and I think Steelers are falling apart, so that means the Browns will win the division. And if they can just get all that vaccine up to northeastern Ohio to the land and let the seniors get it, they can all go to the game if they get it done. But logistically, on a serious note, it is just a nightmare in Ohio. I don't know, Governor DeWine, come on. Had 400,000 doses in Ohio, and 8,000 have been administered. It's just not that hard. You go to a bunch of high school gyms and you say line up. That's where I took the polio vaccine. I can remember it from 59 or 60. The sugar cubes in Christ our King Parish Hall. It just is not that hard to do. You know what is hard to do? It's hard to go from being poor to being a CEO. It's very hard to go from being poor to being a CEO. That's what Herman Cain did. And there's a new movie over at salemnow.com by that title, From Poor to CEO. And it's all about Herman Cain. Now, if you don't know Herman Cain, you got to watch this. And if you do know Herman Cain, you got to even watch it more, just to celebrate, the biggest smile and the biggest laugh I've ever been with. I can remember so distinctly being in Cuyahoga County for the Republican Party annual picnic. They asked me to come out there. I don't know, this was in 2012, so it's 8 years ago, and they, 8.5 years ago, because it was in the summer, to come out and maybe it was 2011 because the campaign hadn't begun. So it was probably 2011. Herman Cain was running, sort of. And so I went, and Herman Cain and I did a Mutt and Jeff show. And we had the best time because he was jolly, he was fun. Is just a great, great American story. So if you go over to salemnow.com, use my name, Hugh, get the 20% discount, and watch that. The DVD costs $19.99, but streaming is $14.99. $15 to watch a great movie. Settle into your couch, go to salemnow.com, order up From Poor to CEO, or you can get the DVD and streaming for $29.99. But it will inspire you on this Christmas Eve or on Christmas Eve. Just do it. Go and do it. Please also, while you're thinking about it, head over to the HughHewitt.com and go to the very top. That's where the Angel Tree banner is. I always forget what we call those things. The Angel Tree banner is at the very top. Thousands of you have contributed tens of thousands of dollars. Some of you have given $5,000. I think we got one $10,000 gift, but most of them are 10 and 25 and 50. Whatever your best gift is, these kids need Christmas, and I still have time. They have people ready to go and shop and deliver. They have notes from mom or dad who are behind jail, and they have a long list of kids that would love to get a present and a Bible from mom or dad with that note. We got volunteers, lots and lots of volunteers. After being incarcerated, Michelle left prison, and she now works full-time for Angel Tree Families. She knows many of us spend hundreds of dollars on dinners out, presents for our own kids, and she asks and reminds us that children of prisoners do not have that luxury.
And there are children out there that I meet every day as an employee of Prison Fellowship now that don't have that connection with their parents. And that's really what this is about. We need that connection to stay between the parent and the child. It isn't about the present, it's about presence of the parent in the child's life, that that child knows that their parent still loves them.
You know, you can hear the emotion in Michelle's voice. Not about the presents, although the children love them. It's about presence in their life. It means mom or dad is thinking about them on Christmas. And that is a big deal. And you can be a part of that big deal at HughHewitt.com at the very top. Thank you to the tens of thousands of people who have stepped up. But we need more. I'm never shy about asking for more. If you've heard me ever do a fundraiser for anybody, I tell my Mother Teresa story. White House, 1985. I'm a young briefcase-carrying lawyer, and the kind that, at my age, I expect to stand in the back of the room and say nothing, and that's what I did in the White House. I worked, and then I would do the stuff you get to do when you're a White House staffer. You got that badge. You get to walk anywhere in the West Wing if the president's not there. You get to show people on the weekends. This is before 9/11. This is before terrorism. Though you still needed to get in the White House with a pass, but you wore the pass on the subway. You thought you were hot stuff. The town is lousy with former White House age. You're not really hot stuff. But in the time that you're parking on the ellipse, or in my case, I got one of the parking spaces inside the gate. I had a first floor office in the old EOB. I had walk-around rights in the West Wing. Fred Fielding and Dick Hauser's office were upstairs. Of course, I had nothing to do because the Chief Justice of the United States, the future Chief Justice of the United States, was the guy in the same suite with me. So if you're going to give Hugh Hewitt or John Roberts a task, who are you going to give the legal work to? Not surprisingly, they gave it to the future Chief Justice. So I had nothing to do. Not quite, but I mean, I didn't do the heavy lifting. I was there to protect the seal of the presidency, that kind of stuff. But in any event, I had a lot of fun. It was a great year. And during that year, Mother Teresa came to the White House. And when Mother Teresa came to the White House, I was going to be in the front row because I had the walk-around pass, so I'd go to the Rose Garden. So I went to the Rose Garden, and I wasn't there in time because every Catholic in the White House complex, and there are hundreds of people working there, had gotten there before me. So I was in the second row, probably 10 feet away from her and the Gipper. They come out of the Rose Garden. They come out of the Oval into the Rose Garden. There's big old Ronnie Reagan, beaming, smiling, larger than life. And here comes this little tiny nun in white and blue. I mean, she's not 5 feet tall. And President Reagan is going to give her the Medal of Freedom. So he gives a glowing set of remarks, just lovely remarks. And then he leans down and he puts the medal over her shoulders, over her habit. And this little tiny Albanian nun looks up at him and he says, "Would you like to say something?" Not on the script, I know. I cleared the remarks, one of my jobs. And she nods. So he takes the microphone, he leans it way down, one of those bendable mics. And she looks up at the President of the United States, having just received the Medal of Freedom. And she says to him, "I need more money." I have always loved that. And Mother Teresa did not hesitate. I'm sure Ronnie Reagan went into the Oval and wrote her a check. Well, of course, we'll get you more money. He probably went in there and gave her $100 because she was confident of what she asked for money for. So when I ask you for money, I am confident of Prison Fellowship. I am confident of Angel Tree. I am confident that it goes to the right people. So I never hesitate. That example since then, whenever I ask for money on behalf of a good cause, I always tell that story. I told that story 100 times because if you have confidence in what you're asking for, if you know it's doing good work, you don't hesitate. Thank you. Angel Tree banner, top of HughHewitt.com. Give your best gift. You know, today is Festivus Day. Do we have the clip? We have the Festivus clip? Yeah, we're allowed just a little bit.
Welcome, newcomers. The tradition of Festivus begins with the airing of grievances.
There you have it. It's the annual airing of grievances. And we did that last hour. Dwayne got to air his grievances, and Adam got to air his grievances, and Ben and Harley got to air their grievances last hour. If you missed it, I'm sorry. But Festivus is all about my airing.
The day's not long enough.
Wait a minute. Just go away. You had your shot. This is my shot. The airing
of
grievances.
When did I air my grievances?
You did it.
I'm airing my grievances right now because I
turned the camera off. He did that last hour. He invaded my space.
When do I get to air my grievances?
Off. It is my grievances era. Right now, I get to air my grievances on Festivus Day. He did it last hour.
This is the worst Festivus ever.
He's trying to get in here and
I got a lot of problems with you people.
That is my problem with my team. My team has no respect for me. None. See, I get no respect. It's like Rodney Dangerfield.
You may be overestimating that a little bit.
That's it. You hear? This is my no respect. I come in and I fix this studio every night before they're there. I get there early hours of California time, and I am working down on my back with the little tiny screwdrivers that nobody can hold, and I'm tracing the cables and banding them up with this thing. This is Festivus, and nobody ever hears about that. And nobody ever hears about the fact that the Browns are 10-4. All I ever hear from you people. Now, let me talk about the Tribbles, all right? The Tribbles are people who listen to the after show. Now, you don't know about the after show because I don't talk about it. But a lot of people subscribe to the Universe because they like the after show, which is on every day at 5 p.m. in the West and 8 p.m. in the East. And the Tribbles, especially, they're the people who listen to the after show. They are ungrateful. I called them forth into creation. I am the Tribble maker. And nevertheless, they give me a hard time on the internet all day long. Whenever my voice sounds like this, because I've been yelling about the Browns, I yelled about the Browns on Sunday night. I do not watch football passively. Who can watch football passively? Not when the Browns are 10-4 and marching to the playoffs for the first time since 2003. It's been a while. That's why the COVID virus has got to get up to northeastern Ohio. That's another one of my complaints. Why don't I have it? If we're in the playoffs, I want to fly back to Cleveland. I got season tickets. If we go to the playoffs, I get that ticket, provided I've got the vaccine. So we let these guys air their complaints last hour. This is my complaint. I want the virus vaccine. I want the Browns in the playoffs. I want some respect for all the technical abilities I bring to the show every day, making it work. And I want you to watch the Universe for me. Not for the Tribbles and Generalissimo.
Let's not get carried away.
No, wait a minute. This is my Festivus. You had yours last hour. And people can go back and watch the Festivus if they want. When Dwayne went Festivus on us, and Harley's Festivus, that was hurt. That hurt. And Ben, he got on there, he talked about the Warriors. He's still talking about 2016 when the Cavaliers beat the Warriors. That's the only time that anyone has come back from a 3-1 deficit. The only time is when the Cavaliers came back and crushed the Warriors. I mean, the Warriors are still embarrassed. It shattered the franchise. Shattered Ben. Ben's just a walking around wreck of himself since 2016. I need to send Ben some relieffactor.com on Festivus Day because Ben hasn't been able to move since 2016. I mean, it shattered him, absolutely ruined him. But relieffactor.com cannot fix psychic wounds. It can only support the temporary relief of the minor aches and pains that dog you every single day. If you're an exercise wizard like I am, if you can go out there and put the miles in as I do, you need relieffactor.com. Minor aches and pains. Nothing magic. Icarian, curcumin, resveratrol, and omega recommended by doctors everywhere. You need it. You need to go and get it. It's $19.95. The Relief Factor button is at HughHewitt.com, or you can go directly to relieffactor.com. Start joining the tens of thousands of people who take it every morning before their commute, and then come right back. I've got a guest, and it's still Festivus. I may do another rant because it is Festivus. I'll be right back on the Hugh Hewitt Show. Welcome back, America. It's Hugh Hewitt. It's Festivus, Christmas Eve. I'm joined by Senator Jim Talon, former senator from Missouri, member of the Bipartisan Policy Center. And we're airing grievances, Jim Talon. Have you got any grievances to air about Dwayne? We're specifically airing grievances about Dwayne.
Yeah, well, I'd like to say that Dwayne gets the Skype wrong, but it is close to Christmas, and honesty compels me to say most often it's me getting it wrong. So, no, I don't have any grievances against Dwayne.
No, you've got, Jim, you are too nice, Senator. We know that Dwayne screws that up every single week, and I think you just got to say it because it's Festivus Day. It's an annual deal.
Of charity.
Yeah. So, Senator, I am curious if you think Lloyd Austin is going to get the waiver that is needed in order to confirm him as Secretary of Defense for President-elect Biden.
Yeah, I think he's going to get it. Jim Inhofe has said he supports it. I think at the end of the day, they'll give it to him. But I think there's going to be a lot of questions, and I hope focusing on two things. One of them is, and Tom Cotton did a great job explaining this, is there too great a weight, an overweight of uniform control in the department? And the second is, will General Austin fight for increases in the top line? Or is he going to salute and go along and say, we can do it with whatever you want to give us? If he's not prepared to fight for increases in the top line, I wouldn't vote for him, whether he's a general or not. I mean, to me, that's a deal breaker.
Now, Senator, you've done confirmation hearings. Did you ever confirm a sec death?
No, because we had, we did. I think Gates came in during that time.
All right. So my question to you is, when a nominee comes to judiciary, they're often asked to comment on special counsels and to confirm they won't involve themselves. And they make a lot of promises like Jeff Sessions did when he was confirmed. Unfortunate promises, but they make them. Can you get the Secretary of Defense under oath and get them to commit to a top line? Can you get them to? Has that ever happened in your experience?
Well, you're certainly not forbidden from pushing them to do it. This is not a question of legality. And that's what happens when you get the Department of Justice or, of course, the courts. You get questions of the legal rules binding them. This is a question of policy. And to me, it's the most important question facing the new secretary. And I would talk to him privately, and I would tell him I'm going to bring it up publicly. Because if the secretary, it's a sad fact, if the Secretary of Defense does not fight for the top line of the budget, nobody else in the administration, or frankly in the Congress, is likely to, with a few exceptions, like Tom Cotton and Mike Gallagher and people like that. He has got to go in and fight, and particularly in the OMB. And I would push him very hard. Absolutely, they can do that.
So now let's talk about the people underneath them. What are the most important appointments that will come after General Austin to be Secretary of Defense, if indeed he gets the waiver?
Well, let's just talk about civilians, okay? I mean, generally speaking, it's the Deputy Secretary. I think obviously in part because the Deputy Secretary of Defense is an especially empowered DepSec. I mean, he really is empowered by the statutes to function as the Secretary if the Secretary wants him to. I mean, even when the Secretary is in country, for example. But also, then after that, generally the Undersecretary for Policy is considered to be number 3 in the department because that's the part of OSD that reviews battle plans and policy. So both operational and policy around the world is in that Undersecretariat. But look, they're all important. There's 6 of them, and we need good people in all of them. But if they don't have the money, it won't matter who we get.
Now, our friend Jerry Hendricks has a new book out, which I've talked about on the air. I've got the book right here, To Provide and Maintain a Navy, and I think it's superb. I mean, it's really superb. And it makes me think we need a John Lehman, a Democratic John Lehman. We need, or at least someone serving, they could be nonpartisan. It could be a Republican. We need a Secretary of the Navy in the Democratic administration of Joe Biden to push for the Navy because we have to bend towards the Navy in this new era. Any chance of getting a Lehman-like figure out of Joe Biden?
Well, I'm not going to be churlish. I was going to say, yeah, maybe by accident. But my concern again is that what I am hearing is they're saying, well, numbers don't really matter. Capability matters. Well, quantity has a quality of its own. And if we don't have numbers, I mean, it's not like we can take all the capabilities we need and put it in one ship. We have to have ships in Indo-PACOM. If you're talking about the services, by the way, the service secretaries are key appointments because they are the ones who have statutory control over acquisition and procurement. So we need a good Secretary of the Navy, and we need a good shipbuilder. We need somebody like Jerry Hendricks building the ships.
Well, now that brings me to the Democrats had a pretty good Secretary of the Navy in Secretary of Work. I mean, he was actually a pretty good Secretary of the Navy. Better actually than any of the deputy sec. He was actually better than any of the Trump SecNavs. And I like the guys. They just never actually sold a vision of the Navy. You think it's possible to get him back? Is he in the game again?
Well, he was a deputy secretary, and I guess he could. I don't know if he wants to go back inside. I don't think they've made the decisions yet. I mean, they're talking about it, and I haven't seen any names emerging. But we need a shipbuilder, and we need somebody who will continue with the plan that came out belatedly, but was a good plan for the Trump administration.
We need someone to sell the
Navy.
Navy. We need a layman-like figure to sell the need for a big, big Navy. Jim Talent, Merry Christmas to you, friend. Always a pleasure to see you, Senator. Don't go anywhere, America. Hour 3 of the Hugh Hewitt Show, straight ahead. Morning glory, America. Bonjour, hi, Canada. Greetings to the 400 affiliates of the Hugh Hewitt Show. A special treat. Many people know Greg Clugston, the Salem Radio Network White House correspondent, from his extraordinary reporting from the White House, his many features on SRN Radio, his guest spots on radio and television across the United States. But they do not know that Greg is a veteran of the White House Correspondents Association and indeed holds a very important position within it. He is indeed the bard of the White House Correspondents Association at this time of the year. Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Good morning, Hugh. I'm great. Merry Christmas. Thanks for having me.
Merry Christmas to you. Have you ever been proclaimed the bard?
Not the bard. I have been referred to as the poet laureate, with all apologies to actual poet laureates, but not the bard. I like it.
Well, as the bard and poet laureate of the White House Correspondents Association, how long have you been doing an annual Christmas party poem for them?
Yeah, this year makes number 22. I started in 1998. It was during the Monica Lewinsky scandal impeachment year of Bill Clinton when he was in office.
This really makes me angry because Greg looks like he's 20, and he's been at the White House for 22 years now. So, Greg, was there a White House Correspondents Association Christmas party this year at which you annually have read your poem?
Yeah, unfortunately, no, Hugh. Understandably so, because of COVID. We're not gathering as we normally are. In fact, when we show up for, pool duty at the White House these days, that's about the only reporters who are around the White House complex in the briefing room because of our restrictions. So, unfortunately, we did not have our usual gathering, which takes place in the lower level of the press briefing area. That's where most of the radio networks have their booths, and CNN and Fox News are down in the basement as well. And we are the hosts annually of the party that is thrown by reporters for reporters, but we also invite the press office, press secretaries, and their staff.
Well, Greg, since it cannot be given, your annual poem, to the WHCA in person, would you honor us with the White House Press Association Christmas poem of 2020?
I'd be glad to. Here we go, Hugh. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and in the White House, one creature was stirring, but it wasn't a mouse. There in the Oval, at the desk in his chair, sat President Trump with a menacing glare. Stockings were hung, but the mood was sour as he agonized over the transfer of power. POTUS dozed off after tweeting a thread, while visions of YMCA danced in his head. He dreamed of the year and all that took place, from impeachment acquittal to a presidential race. Coronavirus arrived, causing sickness and fear, but Trump said, like a miracle, it will soon disappear. Dozens of Democrats ran White House campaigns. Nancy ripped Trump's speech in a show of disdain. Where is Hunter? POTUS demanded nonstop, while Sleepy Joe, from his basement, rose to the top. America wept when George Floyd couldn't breathe. Protesters and looters then took to the streets. Trump called in the troops, hoping clashes would stop, and he walked through the park to a church photo op. A conservative court was supremely complete after putting Coney Barrett in RBG's seat. Birx and the task force attempted to teach, while Trump suggested injections of bleach. After spiking a fever, plus a positive test, he flew to Walter Reed for treatment and rest. All of a sudden, there arose such a clatter, POTUS jumped up to see what was the matter. When, who should appear at the door with a knock but Anthony Fauci, the NIH doc. He wore a gray suit with a blue shirt and tie, standing just 5 feet 7 inches high. With a New York accent, he discussed medicine with ease, diagnosing allergies and infectious disease. Mr. President, sir, I have a favor to ask. To help slow the spread, please wear a mask. Throughout the West Wing, the infected, they came, as Fauci took notes and called them by name. Now Kaylee, now Meadows, now Hope Hicks and Miller. Don't minimize COVID, it can be a killer. On Kellyanne, on Christie, for crying out loud. Keep socially distant and avoid the large crowd. Trump hailed new vaccines and promised protection, but was clearly unwilling to lose the election. Mail-in ballots were viewed with suspicion as Biden pushed forward his plans of transition. Rudy and his team took the battlegrounds to court, but all the legal challenges came up short. And I heard Trump exclaim as he walked out the door, "Merry Christmas to all. See you in 24."
Greg, that is terrific because it's consistent with what I believe is going to happen. You do that every year?
I do it every year, yeah.
And do you rush through it, or you let people laugh and applaud?
Well, sometimes some of the content isn't laugh out loud funny because obviously we're dealing with news events, and this year with COVID. So I obviously if there's a laugh line, I'll certainly let it sit there for a little bit. What's interesting is in past years the press secretaries have often been in attendance, and like Sarah Sanders, for example, she was standing just right next to me when I'm reading this. And so there are a few lines, while there may be some gentle fun that's poked at the current president, it's never mean-spirited, but sometimes it can get a little uncomfortable.
The only White House Correspondents Association dinner I have ever been to, Greg, and I don't know if you go to them. Do you go to them?
I have gone to them in the past, yes.
Yeah, I've only been to one, and NBC took me in the short-lived Hugh Hewitt era on MSNBC, the lowest-ranked show in MSNBC history, and it was the awful, disastrous year. Right, it was the terrible year in which Sarah Huckabee Sanders was insulted, and my impression of the White House Correspondents Association is it's generally a professional and upbeat group, but that year just went off the rails. Has it recovered?
Yeah, it's interesting. Two things: this basement party and those dinners. While certainly the White House Correspondents Association is in attendance, and sometimes the president of the group will be there at the White House, it's more of an informal, almost a potluck lunch that we reporters in the West Wing, bring together just to celebrate. But I hear your point, and oftentimes what happens at those dinners is that there's an effort, to have, the right comedian brought in and all the rest, and to make a statement. And that was, you're right, that particular year with Sarah Huckabee Sanders was very brutal and very difficult, I think, for the associations in terms of their image.
And it was unfortunate. Margaret Talib was the president that year. She's a friend of mine. She's a terrific yes. reporter. Yes. And I think Zeke Miller took over for her. Who is the president of WHCA this year?
Zeke is this year. I'm not sure who took over after Margaret. There was somebody in between, but Zeke Miller of AP right now, and Stephen Portnoy of CBS Radio is on deck.
22 years, Greg, you've done this. You've got the greatest job in America. You report every day. You get would you trade your career for anything?
No, it's been a privilege and an honor, and I enjoy the work, and I love it, and so, no, I wouldn't.
And I want to close with emphasize, you are the Salem Radio Network White House correspondent, and I have no idea if you're a Republican or a Democrat. I have no idea what your politics are. I've worked with you for 20 of those 22 years, because I've been on the air with Salem for 20 years, and I don't think you've ever showed your hand, Greg. Am I right about that?
Well, I hope so, Hugh. I really do, because certainly, like any human, any American citizen, I have my personal views about things, but when it comes to my work, I really do want to let the listener decide what they've just heard coming from the White House, coming from the administration, whether they like it, dislike it, support it, oppose it. It's not my job to share opinions. I'll let the talk show hosts do that if they choose to.
If C-SPAN, if you had been picked to do the presidential debate, it would have been non-controversial. I mean, honestly, Greg, I can't imagine a fairer person than you, and I want everyone who's listening this morning on Festivus Day, I have no complaints about Greg Clugston. In fact, nobody does. He's such a pro. That's why the Salem Radio Network News Department has grown like kudzu. It's everywhere in the United States, and I think it's because of you, Greg.
Well, thank you, Hugh, and happy Festivus to all you and your listeners.
Thank you, and happy Festivus to you. We're going to post the audio of that, because if the White House Press Association cannot gather, White House Correspondents Association cannot gather, they can at least listen to the audio of their annual poem. Be well, Greg.
Thank you, Hugh. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. You can follow Greg on Twitter at Greg Clugston DC. Greg, capital CLUGSTON DC. Let me also remind you that if you head over to HughHewitt.com, Prison Fellowships, Angel Tree Ministry is at the very top. Please be generous. Please go there now and go to the very top and be as generous as you can. Angel Tree needs your help. We've got thousands more little boys and girls who need a present from mom or dad who's behind bars, sometimes both. The volunteers are ready. They can do the shopping. The Bibles in both English and Spanish are ready. They will deliver the goods, but we need you to go and give your best gift. It's really our last day that we can do this. Please go at HughHewitt.com. The banner's at the very top, and be as generous as you can be. I'll be right back, America, on the Hugh Hewitt Show. Welcome back, America. Hugh Hewitt. So glad to be talking to you on this, the 23rd of December, 2020. A year that can't end too soon for some, but we got to celebrate Christmas. If you're doing some last-minute shopping and you have a 21 to 30-year-old in your list, give them the gift of the wild adventure. TWA.US. I've gone on this thing 3 times. Great fishing trip in Madison with 12 guys. They can go by themselves. They can go with a friend. You can give brothers the opportunity to go. Father and son cannot go together because they are for 21 to 30-year-old. They filled up the entire wild adventure for all the people over 30. But the young guns get together and they have the same great fishing, the same great fellowship, the same great food. Bruce Osgood has led the young guns before. And here's what Bruce says about that trip.
Hi, Hugh. Merry Christmas. We really appreciate all your support for the Wild Adventure. I'd like to take a minute to share another of the Wild Adventure that's designed especially for guys ages 21 and up into their mid-30s. It's called Young Guns, and it takes place on a 650-acre ranch in southwest Montana that has 3 trophy trout lakes right on the property. Just like at the Wild Adventure Smiling Moose, we provide some content for the guys to read, and the discussions are driven by asking questions and then letting the guys talk. You know, when we ask guys what they want to get out of the week or what it is they're looking for, their number one answer is purpose and direction. This is true for guys who have grown up in the church and guys who have not yet come to faith. My experience and what the research says about this generation is that it's one of the smartest generations in history, and that the one thing that they are seeking most is real meaning. I hear a lot of people complaining about these next 2 generations. Well, here's a chance to get involved, to do something positive. We get a variety of guys, from those who have heard the answers before they've been allowed to ask the questions, to those who have been church hurt, to those who have little or no foundation. And you know, we can sit on the sidelines and complain, or we can reach guys for Christ in this amazing setting and in a real authentic way. This is a great age group. They're passionate, inquisitive, interested, and they're looking for answers. And they're going to find answers. Young Guns gives them an opportunity to find the truth. So if you know someone in this age range, a son, a grandson, a nephew, or a neighbor, consider sending them to Montana for a life-changing week. Check out the website for more information. Thanks.
Bruce is a great guy, and the Wild Adventure is just a terrific place to go. You got to visit the website, TWA.US. And I'm sorry if you're older, you can't go. Sorry, it's all filled up for 2021, but there are those few openings left. Give the gift of just a wonder, the best week they're going to have since they've been in high school and went to camp, or since they've been in grade school and went to camp. They're just going to love it, even if they fish as badly as Dwayne does. All right, let me check the markets for you, because this is brought to you by AndrewandTodd.com. AndrewandTodd.com are with Sierra Pacific Mortgage. They do the best with the most, and they help the people with the least as well. If you got a bad credit score, Andrew Del Rey and Todd Abakian will help you repair it so you can get a better rate. If you've got a great credit score, they'll get you the best rate in America. And right now, if you're buying a house or refinancing a house because you got to get money out for college, or you got to get money out to build an addition, or you want to buy a rental property or a second home, you go to AndrewandTodd.com. They were Sierra Pacific Mortgage. And you can call them, 888-888-1172, a number I tell you every day, 888-888-1172. But AndrewandTodd.com, that's where you go. And I've been getting some emails from them about their very, very satisfied customers. How can you not be satisfied? They got great customer service. They're a soup to nuts organization. They actually lend you the money. They're not a broker. They're not a call center. They do your application soup to nuts. They're closing loans. And with these interest rates, how can you not be happy? The Dow yesterday was down 209 points. The NASDAQ was up 65, and the S&P was down 7. Everything looks to be green today. A little bit early to be saying the president's discussion of the stimulus bill. He wished the checks had been bigger. He didn't threaten to veto it. I don't think he'll veto it. That would hurt the Georgia Senate candidate terribly if he did veto it. But I think that's going to buoy markets, because if anything, even more money is going to be spent on stimulus. So good day to be in the markets. Great day to call Sierra Pacific. Welcome back, America. It's Hugh Hewitt. Thank you for listening today. Let me remind everyone, there are some great gifts you can give, even if you haven't done any Christmas shopping, even though your stimulus payment hasn't arrived from the Congress yet. President Trump wants it to be $2,000. The Congress has authorized $600. I think he'll sign this bill, and then they'll get to work on another one. But I actually think it's going to have great impact on discretionary spending. But I would love for you to give someone a subscription to honorboundcoffee.com. That's coffee that's delivered to your house every month. The reason I love honorboundcoffee.com is that 100% of the profits from this coffee, which is just fabulous coffee, goes to support military charities, charities that support the men and women in the armed services in the uniform today, like the Injured Marine Semper Fi Fund and America's Fund. There are others. I don't know them all. I don't have the whole list. But they deliver checks. I called to get a year-end report from the CEO of Honor Bound Coffee this week, and boy, what a great set of numbers they're doing. It's their startup. It's first year. And they've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of new subscriptions, and the checks will keep going every single month. So please, the coffee will keep going. Please go over to honorboundcoffee.com and subscribe. And realize that henceforward, every cup of coffee that you drink will be benefiting men and women in uniform. And, you know, think about them right now. It's Christmas time. Hundreds of ships are at sea. Tens of thousands of American service people are in far-flung places. Djibouti, Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, South Korea, Japan, Okinawa. They are at sea on aircraft carriers spread far and wide. They are in submarines under the sea. They are flying over the air. They are far flung and away from home. So support those people by drinking coffee that supports them. It's a pretty simple appeal. Second great gift, Herman Cain. Give the gift of Herman Cain, and it's a great gift. Over at salemnow.com, a new movie is up. It's a movie about Herman Cain. From poor to CEO. You can't miss it at salemnow.com. Just make sure you use my name, Hugh, when you go there in order to get the discount. People listen to my radio show get a discount. People who just stumble onto Salem Now or looking up Herman Cain. They want to celebrate his life and legacy. Giant, larger than life, extraordinary human being. And he came from, like Justice Thomas, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Dirt floor, no heating, nothing. Three great African Americans in America that I know of started on dirt floors. Herman Cain, Clarence Thomas, Willie Brown. I said great American. Willie Brown is the most talented Democrat I've ever met. And people ask me, I've done tens of thousands of interviews in my career dating back to 1990 on KFI AM 640 in Los Angeles. Then I did 12 years on KCET. 10 years on KCET. Life and Times. Did some national work for PBS. I've interviewed the Dalai Lama, so I got that going for me. I've been doing this show for 20 years. I've done literally tens of thousands of interviews. So people ask me all the time, who's your favorite interview? I say, well, I like Richard Dreyfuss. I like Donald Sutherland. I enjoyed talking to George W. Bush. I've enjoyed talking to Hillary Clinton. I've enjoyed talking to John Kerry. I've got some favorites. Richard Dreyfuss, we ran out of tape. We talked for 3.5 hours. That guy brought his A game. He's a lefty, but he's a smart lefty. And we had a great time. And I've had, give me time to think about it. Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz, one of the greatest Talmud scholars ever, in studio with me for 3 hours. Daniel Silva, Chuck Bach. I just, across all this different stuff. But I always say Willie Brown is in my top three. He leaned in when he was speaker. Oh, he drove us crazy. He drove us Republicans crazy. We won the majority, and he stole it back from us, and he just laughed the whole way, and he leaned into me on KCET Life and Times. Said, sometimes, Hugh, I just admit, I simply love the raw exercise of power. Now, I love that kind of candor. Willie Brown. Oh, and then I was so frustrated with Willie Brown. Biggest policy mistake of my life. I supported term limits in California. Term limits are destroyed California thoroughly. That's why I'm a Virginia now. That and Bill Bennett retiring. But it's a destruction so complete that they are now, my friend Hank Adler has a essay in the Wall Street Journal this last weekend on a bill they're proposing to make you a resident of the state if you're 60 days in the state, tax your income, 60 days, and to tax your wealth every year, a wealth tax. California just wants to drive everyone away. It's just crazy people in the state legislature. I'm hoping Keith Kroc, who's the Undersecretary of State, decides to run against Alex Padilla, who was announced yesterday to be the new appointed senator. Come on, Keith, get in the game. Keith Kroc is the CEO of DocuSign before he went in to work with Pompeo and Trump. And Keith is just terrific. I think Secretary Pompeo would tell you, he's just brought his A game to the State Department. And who doesn't like DocuSign? DocuSign is the greatest invention since milk. And DocuSign is Keith Kroc's baby. And so we need a Republican. He's not even a Republican. He'd run as an independent, I bet. He's a Silicon Valley guy. He's just a wonderful, magnetic personality. Or there are other people. Maybe Grinnell will get in that race. Rick Grinnell's a Californian. Maybe he'll run for the Senate seat that Alex Padilla, God love him, empty suit. Just an empty suit. I interviewed him when he was on the city council for Los Angeles, and he was elected at like 10. Just the machine. He's a machine politician out of L.A. Then he went to the state senate. Then he went to the Secretary of State. It's just the machine. And Democrats are unhappy. Oh, are they unhappy with Alex Padilla being named the United States Senate? Oh, are they unhappy? Because Kamala Harris, of course, African-American woman, the only African-American woman in the Senate, and the pressure was on Gavin Newsom, who has not made a correct decision in months, beginning to think he's not going to make a correct decision all year, decided he would shore up his political base by appointing Alex Padilla, Latino, to the United States Senate. It's not going to work that way. It's going to fracture the Democratic Party. Now, he'll go out and he'll appoint African-American to be the Attorney General, and he can appoint another black to be the Secretary of State. He's got a lot of appointments. He made one, Alex Padilla. He's got 2 more to go. But it ain't going to heal the breach. Kamala Harris, the African-American California caucus, believed it should have been Karen Bass or Barbara Lee, and they are upset. Gavin is in trouble. He got a recall petition out there about him, and he's in real trouble. Not much to give him for Christmas. My number, by the way, is 1-800-520-1234. I have 5 minutes here in Tarzana Joe in 5 minutes. If you want to make a complaint on Festivus Day about Dwayne, you can call me. 1-800-520-1234. It's Festivus Day. If you want to complain about Adam and Harley and Ben, I already did my complaints about them. And they got their complaints in the first hour. But if you want to use Festivus Day to complain about Harley and Ben, by all means, you can call me right now and do so. But while we're waiting for the calls to come in, don't forget Angel Tree. The banner is at the top of HughHewitt.com. The banner's right up there. Just go there and click, make your best gift. Empower Angel Tree Ministry to go out and serve those children. Oh my gosh, the people are calling in like mad. They want to complain about Dwayne and Adam. Ty in San Antonio. Good morning, Ty. Oh, it's not answered yet. Okay, I can't answer it yet. It's got to be green, right? You see, that my other complaint is the new system. I didn't want to install the system. It's Festivus Day. I wanted to install the system we used to have, which is I couldn't see a name until they were ready. But now I see the name. That was a Dwayne idea. And so I try and call on the name. And the name is just being screened.
Once again, remedial hosting 101.
We don't do that.
Red
if Dwayne's screening,
no,
we do.
green
they come through, they
means
get
yes.
by him. You know, after so many years, you think Dwayne would be good at seminar callers. Hello, Ty. How are you?
Seminar callers. No, not quite.
No, not you. Dwayne just has tricked us again. What's your complaint about Dwayne?
I don't have a complaint about Dwayne. I don't know Dwayne. He seems to do a fine job, but
he does, doesn't
about
he?
You.
Nope, you can't do that. Cut him off. No. People may not complain about me on Festivus Day. It's my show.
Callers may not celebrate Festivus.
If you're calling to complain, you got to complain about Dwayne. Russell, go ahead. Russell, you're in Louisville. Oh, he's not ready either. Hey, Russell. Good morning, Russell.
Hi, Hugh. Merry Christmas to you and happy holidays.
Merry Christmas to you.
I want to complain. I want to air my grievance of Festivus. I really hate the way that you talk about.
Wait, stop. Russell, this is about Dwayne.
Dwayne does a great job.
Get rid of Russell. Cut him off. Honest to goodness. Bill in New York. Bill, what's your Festivus complaint about Dwayne?
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, the question is, when you have the Salem radio news correspondent on before, and he was talking about
Bill, this is not Open Line Friday. This is a complaint line about Dwayne on Festivus Day.
Wanted to know what line.
No, okay, goodbye. Tom in Florida, do you have a complaint about Dwayne? No, he's not clean yet. Tom in Florida, do you have a complaint about Dwayne?
Hi, Hugh. I honestly did not expect to get through to you today, but I will take you up on your Festivus offer.
It's only Festivus about Dwayne, though.
Hugh, I've got one about you.
Nope. Goodbye. Honest to goodness, I'm complaining about the callers today. Are you not listening? The only people I will let on the air are people who have complaints about Dwayne or Adam or Ben or Harley. This is, I get all the emails that rage about them all year long. And now you have your chance to finally, that there's much to complain about. Kathy in Scranton. Good morning, Kathy.
Good morning. And my complaint is valid. You called upon me one time, and I wasn't even on the phone, and it's because of Dwayne.
You see? That's what
Dwayne is not a very good board operator.
He's not. He's a terrible board op.
Yep, you called upon me. It's a valid complaint.
And they didn't put you through, did they?
Oops.
Now, see, they cut her off, too.
Oops.
Eric. Go ahead, Eric.
Hugh, I'm complaining about Dwayne. This is my Festivus complaint.
Oops.
Whoa, he cut him off.
Oops, sorry about that.
Okay, relieffactor.com.
Oops, my mistake. My bad.
Dwayne cut him off. Oh, we have one Festivus complaint about Dwayne, and the second one was ready to land, and he cut him off. I won't cut off relieffactor.com, though. There it is, friends. That's the best Christmas gift you can give. Give the gift of relief. Temporary support for the relief of minor aches and pains. And I carry in Kirkman, resveratrol, omega. I can't get relief from Dwayne. That's not possible. But I can get relief from my legs and my back when I do my 10. Yesterday was only 4. I went up a hill. That was a big hill. But I nevertheless tell you, relieffactor.com, if you got a bad commute, or you wrap too many presents, or you put up the tree and you throw out your back, support for the temporary relief of minor aches and pains comes from Relief Factor. Join the tens of thousands of people who are using it for the first time this year and love it. I meet you all over the country. I can't wait till we get back out on the country to meet to our affiliates. But relieffactor.com, $19.95 starts you. And I may take some more Festivus calls about Dwayne. 1-800-520-1234. 1-800-520-1234. But it's got to be about Dwayne on the Hugh Hewitt Show. Joined now by the poet laureate of the Hugh Hewitt Show, Tarzana Joe. On Christmas Eve, it's always a pleasure to talk to Joe on the eve of the eve that we all love so much.
Merry Christmas Eve to you, Hugh. Here's the Christmas poem I promised you 2 weeks ago when I was Cassandraing, okay?
Yes, yes.
Was it Halley's Comet that set the sky aglow in Royal David City 2,000 years ago? Some believe the omen that the augurs were decoding was the flash of incandescence from some distant star exploding. Others say the rarity which gave the night its aura was a singular, phenomenal, subboreal aurora. This week has been significant for those who see a pattern in the very rare convergences of Jupiter and Saturn. Whatever the alignment, it said some sages saw it. They jumped up on their camels and they made a beeline for it. After meeting Herod, their determination doubled. They had a dream of angels, and Jerusalem was troubled. What happened in the heavens on that night so long ago isn't as important as what happened here below. For unto us was given, as the holy chorus thunders, a Father for forever, and a Counselor of wonders. To see the light of justice was the mission for those sages, the sovereign of peacefulness, a hero for the ages. And even at this hour, all people who are wise can find him in their hearts as they found him in the skies. That's a Christmas poem from Tarzana Joe for you.
Oh, I love that, and it's not Cassandra-ish. I'm glad it wasn't in Flemish because it's Bethlehemish. That's the fact. No, it was really wonderful. Did you see it last Monday night, Tuesday night? I saw it on Tuesday night.
I was following some online celestial telescopes that were broadcasting it, and it was quite spectacular. There's one shot. I think your friend, the naval man, Mr. Hendricks, had some Twitter videos. And
that can't be possible because he's from Purdue. He couldn't possibly work a telescope.
He did.
He did? No, he had friends over. He's from Purdue. Honestly, he can't work a telescope. Joe, and to Tarzana Joeina, and to Tarzana Joey, a very Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Johanna. Did I say Joeina? Johanna. Oh, my gosh. I'm never going to be invited over. So
that's true. That's correct.
That's correct. Merry Christmas, Joe.
Bye.
If you need a poem, write to Joe at TarzanaJoe at Reagan.com. He's working on his New Year's Eve, and it's next year poems already. TarzanaJoe at Reagan.com. That will be posted at TarzanaJoe.com. We need to go back to our Festivus callers. Dan in Columbus, you have a complaint about Dwayne, Dan?
I do, but first, go Bucks.
Go Bucks!
My biggest complaint about Dwayne is that he's allowed you to kowtow him.
Oh, no, get rid of him. That's actually a seminar caller, but he's a Go Bucks caller. Casey in Florida. Casey, go ahead.
Good morning, Hugh. Good morning, America. I do have one complaint in the Festivus grievance about Dwayne.
Please.
I cannot understand why a regularly intelligent man would work for a Big Ten guy in an SEC world.
Oh, dear.
What I've been asking for 20 years.
Cut him off. An SEC propagandist. There are always coming through SEC. They have their own studio. The Clemson coach didn't want to play Ohio State. He's afraid of Ohio State. What is his name? Dabney Dugood.
You're wasting precious time.
George in Alexandria, Virginia. Go ahead, George. Festivus about Dwayne.
He's too nice to you and needs to give you the international sign for water more often.
He should. Yes, he should.
Not too nice to me. That's not a complaint. Again, Eric in Scranton, will someone air a Festivus complaint about Dwayne, please?
I have a Festivus challenge for Dwayne. I would like to challenge Dwayne to a Festivus wrestling match. You're forgetting about the wrestling match, kid.
You know, he's out of that. He gave up softball when he got clobbered. His ERA went to 28. His bowling average dropped down to below 100. He took up pickleball for a while, and now he does scootering.
There would be two hits. Me hitting you hitting the floor.
Michael in San Antonio, your Festivus complaint, Michael.
Yes, Hugh, good morning. My complaint is we don't hear enough of Dwayne on the radio.
Well, that's not a complaint. That actually is a subversion.
That is a
Go
complaint.
away. Alan in Jacksonville, Florida. Alan, what's your complaint about Dwayne?
Hey, my complaint is, I don't like Dwayne's name, and I have to listen to 860 The Answer. Is there a Jacksonville station where I can listen to Hugh Hewitt?
Yes, there is. I'll ask Dwayne to send it to you. Yes, there is, but I don't know that he will. But I don't know if he will.
I don't like my name much either.
Yeah, I don't like his name either. Eric in California, got 30 seconds, Eric.
So better than Hugh.
Hey.
Hey.
Good morning. Hey, calling back because I was just going to say my complaint about Dwayne is he's too good looking. Get him out of here.
No, he is not. I mean, put him up on the camera, people. I mean, I can prove that one right now. Hey, listen. Merry Christmas to you all. Merry Christmas to Adam and to Ben and to Harley and to actually Dwayne. We have the best radio staff in the business, and we will be back. We got great shows on Christmas Eve and Christmas, and I'll be back live on Monday. Please remember Angel Tree over at HughHewitt.com. Those kids need you. Make a donation. Make your best gift, and may God bless you.